we are at the front of Ordensburg Vogelsang. It used to be a Nazi education facility between 1936 until 1939, until World War II when the school was halted and the Belgians took over in 1950. So let's go and check it out.
Also, there's a €4 fee for a whole day parking. Ordensburg Vogelsang is a former Nazi estate placed at the former military training area in Eifel National Park in North Rhine-Westphalia. The preserved estate was used by the National Socialists between 1936 and 1939 as an educational center for future leaders. In a 1933 speech by Adolf Hitler, he demanded that new schools be built for the children of the leaders of his National Socialist German Labour Party. In 1934, work began on 3 construction projects to be built: order castles or school castles, where the future leadership of the Nazi Party would be trained. These projects were under the direction of Dr. Robert Ley, head of Deutsche Arbeitsfront. And here are the 3 castles: Ordensburg Rossensee, Ordensburg Sonthofen, Ordensburg Vogelsang. A 4th one was planned at Ordensburg Marienburg. The construction of the Ordensburg Vogelsang was financed by expropriating trade unions with employers' associations. The contract for planning the Rossensee and Vogelsang projects went to the Cologne architect Clemens Klotz. The 3 buildings at Eifel have been known as NS Ordensburg since 1935. The Vogelsang was built on a hillside overlooking a large lake valley. The first phase of the project was the construction of the Castle Vogelsang, which took only 2 years with 1,500 workers. Several much bigger buildings were also planned, such as the huge library to be called the House of Knowledge, and the Strength Through Joy Hotel with 2,000 beds and the biggest sports facilities in Europe. Unfortunately, construction at the site halted on the outbreak of World War II. On April 24, 1936, the 3 Ordensburgen were formally handed over to Adolf Hitler, and the first 500 Ordenjunkers moved into Vogelsang, arriving from all over Germany. Most were in their mid-20s, and entrance requirements included a period of probationary party work, perfect physical health and proof of descent, and a proof of working and military service. And here are their daily schedules. Emphases were on National Socialist race science, geopolitics, and intensive sportive education. Another emphasis was pilot training, and to accommodate this phase of the curriculum, airfields were built on all 3 Ordensburgen. The following structures were planned and partly also carried out: the entrance area with gate and 2 towers, the House of Knowledge, the Castle Tavern, the Community House with Eagle Courtyard, a tower, east and west wing, 10 comradeship houses for 50 pupils each, 4 group houses for 100 pupils each, the Ting Place as an event stage and solstice course, sports facilities with grandstand, gymnasium and swimming pool, fire paint torchbearer, and the house of female employees. At the outbreak of the war in September 1939, the Ordenjunkers departed, and the castle of Vogelsang was handed over to the German army, which used it twice for billeting troops. During the interim, Vogelsang hosted a couple of classes of the so-called Adolf Hitler schools. In 1944, a military fitness camp for 15 to 16 years old member of the Hitler Youth was held there. Allied air raids destroyed some of the buildings, including the East Wing and a gymnasium. The US Army overran the area in February 1945 and briefly occupied Vogelsang before turning it over to the British military. In 1950, Vogelsang and the adjacent military training area were turned over to the Belgian army, who controlled the area until January 1st, 2006. Now the arts and buildings. Most of the sculptures in Vogelsang, the Torchbearer, the German Man, the Eagle, and the Sportsman relief were created by Willy Meller. The wood sculpture The German Man disappeared in 1945. It was used as a military training area since 1946. The buildings destroyed during the war were reconstructed by the Belgian military authorities, and the surviving structures, reduced to bare brickwork, acquired a practical use. After its period as a military training area came to an end, the former Ordensburg Vogelsang has been open to civilians since January 1st, 2006. The surrounding area is used for hiking. So let's walk around the area from the beginning up to the end. Number 1. Entrance and guardhouse area. Construction began in 1937. The towers were originally planned to be twice their actual height, but were never finished. Propaganda art can be found on the fronts, with the West Tower features an idolized Ordenjunker, and the East Tower a medieval knight from the Teutonic Order. After a visit from Adolf Hitler in 1937, Doric pillars without any static function were added to the entrance gate. Number 2. View towards Woolsiphon. The military administration of the British occupation zone placed an order that the village of Woolsiphon should be cleared by January 9, 1946, which marked the end of the municipality of Woolsiphon. The area around became a central restricted zone within a military training area of the British Rhine Army. The cleared village buildings were damaged and soon destroyed during military exercises. Number 3. Belgian Cinema. Clemens Klotz, the Vogelsang architect, had planned that the complex and its ascending terraces should be crowned a monumental house of knowledge. The foundation had been laid when building stopped in 1941. Preliminary work had been erected for an adjacent building, with a large auditorium were used by the Belgian Garrison Command, including a cinema for the troops. Number 4. Belgian Van Duren Barracks. The Belgian Armed Forces carried out extensive building activity after it had passed to them from the British Armed Forces in 1950. The Belgian military administration used the foundation of the House of Knowledge to construct the most important new post-war building on the site, the Van Duren Barracks, named after a Belgian officer who fell in the war against Nazi Germany. Number 5. Castle Tavern. It was constructed as a third wing of the central ensemble around the Alderhof. It consists of a basement with alley, sanitary installations, and storerooms, and the main floor with the dining hall seating 500, a hall with an open fireplace, a gallery, and adjoining rooms. It is the only National Socialist built at Vogelsang whose exterior and interior have largely survived in their original state. The Wild Hunt chimney breast relief in slate depicts the Furious Host motif from German mythology. The Belgian Armed Forces used the Castle Tavern as a canteen and as a conference room for its command. Number 6. Eagle's Yard. Located on the inner courtyard of the main castle, with eagle statues and relief sculpted in its stone walls. Number 7. Earth Lake View. View of Earth Lake inside Eiffel National Park, as seen from the main buildings of Vogelsang. Number 8. Redoubt. A separate building located on the eastern part of the compound. Number 9. Belgian Petrol Station. It is one of the buildings constructed by the Belgian Garrison Command in the military training area. With its oval design, flat roof, and two semi-circular structure, it combines the architectural taste of the 1950s with the functional elements of a modern gas station. It is one of the last petrol stations of the post-war period to survive in its pure form and was therefore given protection since 2006. Number 10. visitor center, located around the Eagle's Yard with the lobby and main castle. The latest stage of €40 million facelift is the opening of an exhibition aiming to educate the young against fascism. The display depicts how ordinary men and women were conditioned by the Nazis to hate Jews and others branded as inferiors.
As you can see, this is the visitor center. This is where you can buy the tickets for the tour and everything else.
Number 11. The Tower. The main tower of the castle and lookout point. It can only be accessed with a guided tour. Number 12. The Torchbearer. A 6-meter block of wall with a receptacle for fire was erected on the Sonnenwendsplatz. An athletic naked torchbearer defying a storm is depicted on the front of the block. The figure's stylistic orientation came from the monumental sculptures produced for the Olympic Games in 1936. The inscription reads, "You are the torchbearers of the nation. You carry the light of the spirit forward in the battle for Adolf Hitler." Number 13. Sports Facilities Installations. The racist heroic human ideal propagated by the National Socialists combined physical attributes such as health, strength, and beauty with character values such as asceticism, toughness, and fearlessness. Thus, sport facilities were a fundamental element of the training institution. A sports ground with a running track, indoor swimming pool, and gymnasium and a shooting range were constructed from 1935. Over the years, paths, steps, ramps, terraces, open spaces, and areas of grass were added around and between the sports facilities. Number 14. Swimming Pool Building. Inside the 25-meter swimming pool building is a gable wall dominated by 3 naked athletes striding through sea surf in a dramatic pose. Outside, a red basalt lava relief adorns the wall between the steps to the VIP stand. It depicts 7 athletes from various sporting disciplines. Beneath the wings of the party eagle, soldiers from occupying forces took shot at the relief, which is now extremely weather-worn. Number 15. Ting Place. Doing or Ting was the name of a Germanic gathering of the people and court of law. This was the origin of the term Ting Theater, a special National Socialist form of open-air theater which mainly took its orientation from the theatrical tradition of ancient Greece. Number 16. Comradeship House. The construction of the Comradeship House and Assembly area along with the 100 House on the northern slope marked the end of the first building phase of the Ordensburg in 1936. Number 17. The Hundreds House. As the intention was to raise a number of Ordensjunker from 400 to 1,000 per year, 4 further residential buildings were built on 2 new terraces there. The Hundreds House are long 3-story buildings. Each of the upper floors held 3 dormitories accommodating 20 people. The ground floor had a common room and sanitary installations. 10 buildings of this kind were planned for the western slope for the final development of Vogelsang. 3 air raid shelters were built into the hill underneath the terraces. After finishing all the list at Ordensburg Vogelsang, we went back to the main lobby and to the Gastro Vogelsang, where we have a hearty lunch/snack. So that's it for Ordensburg Vogelsang. Until next time, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye! So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on guys, hit the bell. For notifications. And don't forget to share.
And like.